The envelope was postmarked April 3rd, 1968, but it didn't arrive at my mother's house until I was 37 years old. Inside was a letter written in my father's handwriting, addressed to my son, Michael. But here's what made my hands shake. My father died on April 6th, 1968, 3 days after mailing this letter. He wrote it, knowing he wouldn't survive the week. And the first line read, "By the time you read this, I'll have been gone longer than I was ever alive." He was 23 when he wrote those words. I'm now 14 years older than he ever got to be. What he predicted in that letter about my life, about who I'd become, and about the choice he made that killed him will absolutely shatter you. But let me start from the beginning of a goodbye that took 40 years to arrive. My mother was 18 and 3 months pregnant when my father, Lieutenant Michael Carson Sr., deployed to Vietnam in January 1968. They'd been married for exactly 6 weeks. She was a bank teller in Sacramento. He was a platoon leader with the 101st Airborne. The plan was simple. He'd do his tour, come home by Christmas, and meet his son. He'd already picked the name, already bought a baseball glove that he kept in his footlocker, already recorded himself reading Goodnight Moon on a cassette tape so my mother could play it for me before bed. But in late March, his letters changed. They became shorter, vaguer, like he was holding something back. My mother saved every single letter he ever sent, and I've read them all hundreds of times. The last letter she received, dated March 28th, ended with, "If anything happens to me, check with command in May 1968. There's something coming for Michael. Make sure he gets it when he's old enough to understand." She had no idea what he meant. Command had no record of anything. For 37 years, that line haunted her. Then in 2005, a veteran named James Wu contacted her through a Vietnam memorial website. He'd served in my father's platoon. He'd been carrying something for 37 years, waiting to find me. A letter. The letter my father mailed 3 days before. He died, addressed to me, with instructions that it should only be delivered when I turned 37, the same age my father would have been when I was born, if he'd lived. What I discovered next shattered everything. The letter was 12 pages long, written on standard military stationery, some pages stained with mud and sweat. It started like this. "Dear Michael, today is April 3rd, 1968. You were born 6 hours ago. I know this because Wu radioed back to base and got word. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, full head of dark hair. Your mother is fine. You're healthy. I'm a father." On April 1st, 1968, my father's platoon received intelligence about a North Vietnamese ambush set for April 6th. The ambush would target a supply convoy carrying medical supplies to a field hospital, treating over 200 wounded soldiers. Without those supplies, dozens of men would die from infections and untreated injuries. Command's plan was to send the convoy anyway, with heavy armed escort, hoping they could fight through the ambush. But my father had a different idea, a suicide mission idea. He wrote, "There's a way to save the convoy if a small team goes in early on April 6th at dawn and draws out the ambush before the convoy arrives. The enemy will expose their positions. They'll waste their ammunition on us. The convoy can take a different route, and 200 men will get the medicine they need. The catch is, the team that goes in first won't be coming back. It's a 4-man job. I volunteered to lead it." This is where the story takes a turn. My father spent April 2nd and 3rd writing 2 letters, one to my mother, which she received and cherished, full of love and gentle lies about staying safe, and one to me, telling the truth. He wrote, "I'm writing this to you, Michael, because 37 years from now, you'll be old enough to understand something your mother can't accept right now. You'll be old enough to have maybe held your own child. You'll understand what I'm about to tell you." The letter detailed his impossible choice. On one side, come home, watch me grow up, grow old with my mother, have the life they'd planned. On the other side, save 200 men who had families waiting for them too. 200 fathers, sons, brothers. He did the math. He wrote it out in the letter. One of me, or 200 of them. The math is simple. The choice is impossible. But here's what you need to know, son. I didn't choose them over you. I chose to be the kind of father you could be proud of, even if you'd never remember me. But that's not even the most heartbreaking part. My father included something else in the letter. Predictions, guesses about who I'd become, based on the 6 hours I'd been alive and what he knew about himself and my mother. He wrote, "I'm betting you'll be stubborn like your mom. I'm betting you'll hate vegetables. I'm betting you'll be good at math, because I was terrible at it, and someone in this family should be. I'm betting you'll fall in love young, like I did. And I'm betting that one day you'll have to make a choice between what you want and what's right, and I'm betting you'll choose right, because that's what Carsons do. He was correct about everything. Vegetables, math, falling in love at 19, everything." James Wu, the man who carried my letter for 37 years, was one of the men in that field hospital. He'd been hit by shrapnel 2 days before and was waiting for antibiotics. Without that convoy, he would have died from infection. He survived. He went home. He had 3 daughters. He became a pharmacist. He told me that 43 men survived because of what my father did, and those 43 men have had children and grandchildren. By his estimate, my father's death led directly to the existence of over 300 people who wouldn't be alive otherwise. The truth was buried for a reason. At the end of the letter, my father wrote something that I think about every single day. "Michael, you're 6 hours old, and I'm 23 years old, and I'm sorry I won't be there to teach you how to throw a baseball or drive a car or talk to girls. But I need you to know that being your father, even for these 6 hours, even from 8,000 miles away, has been the greatest honor of my life. I didn't die for my country. I didn't die for some abstract cause. I died so that 200 fathers could go home to their kids. I died so you could grow up in a world where people still believe some things are worth dying for. Don't waste it, son. Don't waste the life that cost me mine. Be good. Be brave. Be the man I would have been proud to know." The final page contained a single instruction. When you have a son of your own, tell him about me, not the sad parts. Tell him his grandfather was a man who did his math. I have a son now. His name is Michael Carson III. He's 5 years old. I read him Goodnight Moon every night using the cassette tape his grandfather recorded 60 years ago. The tape is degraded, the voice warbled and distant, but you can still hear my father's voice, young and hopeful, reading to a son he'd never meet. Last year, I tracked down 12 of the 43 survivors from that field hospital. 8 are still alive. I've met 6 of them. They're in their 70s now. They all remember the convoy that saved them. They all knew men who knew my father. One of them, a man named Robert Chen, brought his 4 grandchildren to meet me. He said, "Your father gave me 52 years I wouldn't have had. These kids exist because of him. The cost of my father's choice was that I grew up without him. The gift of his choice was that hundreds of other children didn't have to. If stories like this move you, please subscribe. We share these untold stories of impossible choices and quiet heroism every week, the kind that remind us what sacrifice really means. Hit that notification bell, because next week's story about a nurse who stayed behind during an evacuation will absolutely